This is a clip from Beyond Classified. You can access the entire episode now at rockfin.com/FKN+. The perceived reality that most people see about what they're being pumped in the news is that we live in a hellhole, really, that, people are dying on the streets. You can't go outside. You shouldn't go outside. You shouldn't pretty much interact with anyone. You should actually plug yourself into the metaverse or plug yourself into a computer and stay there. That's where everything's safe. That's where everything is good. That's where we can control everything, too, by the way.
There's an element of truth about that. We're talking about Baltimore. Like, there's parts of Baltimore. It's like, yeah, you probably are best to just stay inside. and like, I mean, because there are parts where it's very, very sick. The people here are beautiful, but they're like, that's a completely different discussion. There's a truth to that. And that's what at least half of this experience is that we're going to talk about in a bit, is the fact that that what's happening is very paradoxical. Like, on one hand, all of that's true about here, but then on the other hand, there's this. Like, this place, this house which I'm staying in, is, I would say, there's nothing like this anywhere in anywhere on earth right now. The type of house, the type of decking, the type of view, the surrounding neighborhood, like all of these juxtapositions that say this should not exist. This should not exist, but it does. And people are coming here and they're like, what the hell is this? How did this happen? I'm like, I don't know, but this is what's happening. And the variety of people on the variety as seen on the outer surface is very misleading, because there is a commonality of where people stand, of common ground, of understanding and seeing what's really happening. And then also this, like, and we're gonna run with it. We're gonna dip into the system where we have to, and we're gonna just like go past it where we don't have to. And it's literally the Wild West, because you're in Colorado, right?
I am, yeah.
So that was once the Wild West. That was once when the people in the East Coast would be like, wow, I'm not going out there. Anything can happen out there. And like, now it's like this flip. It's like, right now, this is the Wild West. You guys are on, like, at least in the cities, in the smart cities, in the Denvers and the Austins and the, those are the antithesis of what the Wild West once symbolized. Whether or not that was a true story or not, who knows? It's at least our mythology.
Yeah, you're right on with that. And we actually had to get out of the bigger city areas. I enjoy the more rural areas myself. But once you escape from some of those mainstream areas and get out, you start to see how different things can really be. And I hear birds and stuff. It sounds like you're in like a utopia over there, and that's definitely not what you think of when you think of Baltimore.
Over my shoulder, it's just like it's a bamboo growth. Every night, we're probably going to hear it in about a half an hour, it comes alive for 30 minutes. Like, the birds just go nuts. Like, I sit here, I watch foxes all day. Like, I hear gunshots. I like watch eagles. Like, it's like everything. I can't even really hear any of the trappings of the urban environment, because there's a white noise of the rapids from Jenny's River, which is right down beneath me. And so it's like this. But outside of this immediate area, it ain't like this.
Yeah.
And like, it's like you can't even believe what it is. And it's, if I was being totally honest or transparent, it's kind of dangerous here. Like, the decks are like not things are put together in a certain way. Like there is a benefit for codes. You understand why there's codes, but that's part of what's happening here. And the people who come here, particularly those who come because of me, they come like there's almost like a test. One, if you live in the area, but there have been some people who've traveled kind of far, but you got to kind of like go through an uncomfortable part of town, and you got to go and you get there. But once you get here, there's this recognition of like wanting to be incredibly real.
Now, what do you think that is? Do you think that that's just a kind of like a special area that you're in, and do you think that these types of areas exist everywhere? It's just a lack of exploration or a lack of knowing, or even just the fact that the mainstream wants people to stay in cities, and nowadays smart cities where all the Wi-Fi and electronics are.
Excellent question. So first off, this place which I'm in is a halfway house. Okay, it's halfway. It's halfway out. It's for people who cannot envision in their minds what all the way out would be. It's a halfway house. We're calling it the asylum. It's for asylum seekers. It's an ashram. It's all of these things, but it's ultimately to move to the outside of the control system. West Virginia, there are places out there which are being built as well. And so this is kind of like that mid-level. There's a variety of places, and this is unfolding. This is the beauty of what's happening, Chris, is this is unfolding in real time. Like, you are seeing one example. I guarantee there is something like this happening everywhere. And what I mean by that, of a certain level of like-minded people coming together in this spontaneous way, which is seemingly leading a pathway in the most unexpected, serendipitous way, but it also feels like you're on the knife's edge. Like, there's a knife's edge quality to it as well. But that's where we are.
So you started started a little independent community of sorts, right?
I mean, I wouldn't quite go that far right now,
right.
But I would say, right, like we're watching this thing unfold. So I'm going to tell you a story, and you're just gonna, like, I'm laughing because I'm imagining. I sometimes do this. I hope I don't sound like I'm full of myself, but I'm imagining if someone were going to tell me the story I'm about to tell you, understanding your point of reference, I'd be like, you're just in for it. You're just in for it.
Really, this is great. The audience will be in for it with me.
All right, exactly. All right, so, I mean, this is a big story, but I got to get into it. So, I'm gonna give the abridged version of it, because this story is the setup to where I am right now. And really began like maybe 2 years ago. I started getting this sort of stuff in the mail, tongue-in-cheek, Freemasonic sort of things. Really well done. And you're not certain, is this real? Is this legitimate? The person's putting a lot of time into it. Like, how do they got my number? Like, all this sort of stuff. So that was going on. That was building over a period of time. And then in November, the end of November of last year, I had my 50th birthday. And right before my 50th birthday, like a couple days before the 50th birthday, I received this email. And it's like, dear Mr. Wann, my name is so-and-so, and I am a member of the such and such lodge. And
I have to say, man, you look amazing for 50. Jesus, I was just thinking, oh, you're not 50. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
It's healthy living. This is what humans should look like.
Yeah, right on.
So where was I? It was, I lost my train of you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said one of your friends had contacted you, I believe.
Oh, okay. No, it wasn't a friend. It was an email from out of the blue right before my 50th birthday saying, hey, I'm a member of this Freemasonic lodge, and I lead this ultra secret Freemasonic subgroup of people particularly interested in esoteric research. And this is the date of our quarterly meeting, and I'm a fan of your work. Would you come and present? Signed so-and-so, 33 degrees. And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, I mean, in the context of what the tightrope we walk in doing the sort of things which we do, and then to have this sort of, is this a goof? Is this real? Like the irony, like this stuff which they wanted to know the Susquehanna mystery story was the purpose of it, and it's gone full circle. When I first started telling that information, when I started sharing that information 5 years ago, people just like look at me like I was insane. And now 5 years later, like invited by the actual organization, like, there's a certain degree of like, okay, that's a real thing. Like I really felt that. I saw that and all this sort of stuff. So that's going on. Turn 50, Christmas, da 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 da. And then one day I wake up and I'm like, something's not right. And I looked closely at that invitation. And I said I was going to go and do it. I was excited to do it and so forth. I was like, what's going to happen? And I looked closely at the invitation. And I start like, I took off, I got out of like my own story, my own like, okay, what's the presentation going to be and who's going to be there? And I like looked at the letter and I was like, I did a presentation a couple years ago about the number 57 and Kobe Bryant's murder and all this sort of stuff. And this is lining up perfectly with that. Like on the same date and certain numbers and the location where it's to be held and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, if I wanted to be really paranoid, if I wanted to, this is 7 amazing symbols that these guys are going to ritualistically sacrifice me. Because I just did a whole presentation all about that. Like it was all about like 57 because it tied into John Hines. And it was exactly 57 days from the day of the invitation to the when the presentation was going to be. Like it was literally held 1 mile away from the Hines crash. Like it just went on and on and on. I'm like, this is like, I understand the symbols. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't really think I was going to get sacrificed, but then I was like, did Cappy think he was going to get sacrificed? Did Cappy even get sacrificed? That whole sort of thing, right? Like all of that stuff's going on. And at the same time, I'm like, I just want to get out of here. I'm just done with this. Like, it was like, that was tied more so about like, Mike and turning 50 and like, I'm just tired of like this stupid stuff, which everyone's doing nowadays. So long and short of it is this, I go to the presentation. I'm like, I don't think they're going to take me out, but if they're going to take me out, I'm going to go out on my feet. And I go to the presentation. In fact, I gave them the presentation and I flipped it around and I told them, I'm like, hey, I figured this out. Are you guys going to kill me? And they're like, nah. And I'm like, okay, this is just an initiation and you're witnessing my initiation. That's what I said to them. And I'm being initiated into by life. I don't know by what I'm being initiated into, but that's what this culmination event is. And I like that. It was kind of cool. Next day, shit hits the fan in my personal life. Like, bam. And without getting into the details and in hindsight, like everything makes perfect sense. But at that moment, the next day, I had to get out of where I was living in a really, really, really nice environment, like the most amazing environment in so many ways. And I found myself in this Baltimore place and it looks beautiful, right? I'm going to tell you something else. It doesn't have heat. There's no heat in this house. When I moved in here on February 2nd, it was 38 degrees on the inside. There's no heat to turn on. And because it was so cold, all the water was taken out of the pipes because we didn't want the pipes to burst. So yeah, there's water in the house, but you just can't use it. We turned it off. So moving into this house after that Masonic setup and then going through this process of it turning into spring. Been here for 10 weeks now. Like, yeah, there's something special happening here. I don't think I'm the only person who's going through something. I just happen to have a platform where I have available to me a place to tell the story and to demonstrate it firsthand. But that's what I'm seeing is happening. It is this perfect story in this perfect poetic justice way, which meets each person where they are in their life, but they're going to have to go and face some boogeymen. That was the whole point. You were talking about this in the beginning of our conversation about, the nature of reality and our expectations of what we're going to see and how our inner world plays a part in creating our reality. And a lot of times it's not necessarily because you think you're projecting it's out there. You see something neutral and you just interpret it such a way, and then you act out as if that was really happening, and then that's your life. It's really happening. There's that initiation, that indication that this would be a ritualized murder of myself. I'm the only person in the entire world who would ever put that together. It's the way my mind thinks, and I'm the only one who's got those details. Like someone else would do something else. Like that's how we're all each individuals. And I began recognizing, I'm like, those guys like the history and the story I had to tell. Like, and whether what I say has any bearing of any truth or fact is irrelevant. Like those gentlemen got together and they got to have a fun night with interesting thought and thought-provoking information. Like that on a very level occurred. But something else happened, and it was just between me and whoever's writing this story. Whether you want to call that, the creator, my higher self, or I don't even know who. Like that, at that moment, I was just recognizing that there is something going on, and I'm really the only one who's seeing it. And I had those Freemasons, because they're the greatest symbol in our culture of initiation. They witnessed me go through an initiation. What is an initiation but a marker in time that you have passed a threshold? Threshold to what? Who knows? But that was my thought then. And then now hindsight, 10 weeks later, I'm like, okay, I see what it was about.